Facebook Live. It's Monday at high noon. Hi, Queenie.
Hi, Doc. How are ya?
I am fantabulous. How are you?
Fantabulous is a great word. It is so beautiful in Kansas City and across the country. I've already spoken actually coast to coast today, and everyone is having that transition weather. And some people are loving it. Some people are not loving it, but from Florida to Sacramento and everything in between today seems like a weather joy, because the cool weather is happening and the heat is getting less. So how about you, Doc? How does that affect your gardening topics?
Well, we're getting close. Today, I am hopefully going to be planting some garlic. I've been waiting for it to come in the mail. This is one of my favorite days. And then I was prepping everything yesterday, and the best part about this weather, there are no mosquitoes. So I could dig and get under the shade and around plants and not be eaten alive like I usually am. So
wow, no, that's an interesting thing right off the bat, that the mosquito topic is different during this season as well. So that's interesting.
Yeah, the cool weather definitely, once we get, well, it was yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was going to go fishing before church. And I woke up, my covers were up to here and my nose was cold. And I'm like, nose is cold. Oh, wait, body is cold. I am not wearing a winter jacket fishing. No.
Yeah, that's usually a clue.
It was 42 here yesterday in the Kansas City area, and at 7 a.m. because I was going to wait until the sun would rise. That's the other thing I don't like about the season is the sun, it sets earlier and it rises later. And
yeah, I like when there's about 14 hours of daylight. That just rocks my world.
Mid-June, June to mid-June. Yep.
Yeah, I love that a lot too. It's going to be interesting. I actually noticed, because yes, I am a groupie. Hallmark is beginning their Christmas countdown Friday.
Joy.
So I am all over that one, of course, because if it's going to be cold, it might as well be Christmas.
Well, and you know how it all ends, and they lived happily ever after. That's how it all ends. At least, you're guaranteed that.
Absolutely.
No matter that, and then they live in beautiful places. I love the ones where they're in like Colorado or wherever, and the snow is perfect, and the pine trees and the Christmas music.
That's right. It's very predictable and very perfect opportunity to always be joyful. So I love that.
So Queenie.
Uh-oh.
We like to entertain people to some extent. We like to come up with unusual things and fun, make people laugh and chuckle in amongst networking stuff and tips and whatever. And so, we look back over our little history of, spitting in a mask and a plastic mask to keep the fog from, building. And I'm trying to think of what else we've done that's been kind of funny and crazy. Of course, we always have our fun pictures with our earrings and our hair and our this and our that. And yes. we also, if you're new to Doc and Queenie, I should say to our faithful friends on purpose out there, we also have gotten into a little routine lately of National Day of. So,
oh, I can't wait to hear what today is.
I would like to start out with the funny. I mean, we're going to make it funny, I guess.
Okay.
So I'm going to, as I talk here, go to my background.
I am ready, I think.
I would like to
have to preface that.
I'd like to wish everybody a happy National No Beard Day. Now, as women, we don't like to have beards because culturally, usually women don't have beards. Now, if you have a beard, that's your choice, and I will never judge you on that. I personally don't want a beard ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to go with this. So I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Silly little quirk about you, Doc. Doc doesn't want a beard. Let us write that down.
But you're going to love this. So I've got 4 different pictures here.
Okay.
Which picture would be you? I know which one is me, but which picture would be you if women had facial hair?
none of it even resonates on a good day with me. I just can't even imagine that.
Would you like my take?
Yeah, seriously, that's what I was just gonna say. At the very worst, like, yeah, exactly. Handlebar mustache, I guess if I had to do it because it's specific and it would probably be a grooming topic. It's just not a good fit for me. I'm kind of a hair-free zone. I don't do even on gentlemen. I'm not a fan as a rule. So what about you? I can't imagine you picking either one of those, any of those.
So my guess was, let's see if I can do this with the finger thing. My guess for you would be this one, the light blue, of course.
Really? Okay.
That one.
All right.
And for me, let's see if I can get this right. It would be the pink one, that one.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And the reason for the handlebar is because it already looks jolly. The other one is already droopy. So I couldn't handle looking unhappy as soon as you just come in with your facial hair. And you would want the full beard. And I bet I know why, because it keep you warm.
Exactly. And it's hippie.
Yeah,
or Harley. Yeah,
I can imagine that. Actually, that would be the one I would probably think for you anyway, just from a standpoint of keeping warm.
Oh my God. I had an uncle that had he also was my godfather. Grew up Catholic, and we had godfather. He was my godfather. Actually, yeah, he was like Italian. That.
Yeah.
And he had the handlebars. And I was kind of like, I would watch him as a little kid, like, what are you doing? He'd take the wax and do the whole thing.
Yeah, they wax him. Yeah.
But it was appropriate for his name. His name was Mario Sant'Angelo. Is that Italian?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that explains it. All right. Yeah.
So
holy moly.
I thought you'd get a kick out of Happy National No Beard Day.
Happy National No Beard Day. Well, and the same to you, Dr. Laura. That's lovely.
Sure. And yeah. So we'll get a little more serious on our national days. We will also don't get sick, because the sugar content on top of that cupcake. Yeah. It's Happy National Chocolate Cupcake Day. And of course I had to get the cupcakes with the sprinkles.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that gives everybody a good excuse to go have a little treat for dessert. That's pretty fun.
There you go. Yep.
Oh my goodness. And isn't it a funny thing, honestly, when you go through those calendars, who is thinking of this and how does it get to be a national day of? And we always talk about 9/5 as in September 5th as Kangen Water Day. 9.5 is one of the alkaline levels of our water machines. And so we call it Kangen Water Day 9.5. And so, but we just deem that just from all of those crazy water geeks that we all know and love. But I can't imagine how somebody gets the name of the day. And then Doc and Queenie Day, that was self-proclaimed also. I don't know how you go about doing something like for real legit to get on that calendar.
I don't know, but no beard, like.
You've got to really be thinking to get that going.
Yeah, National Don't Use an Envelope Day. I don't know,
Oh, National Stamp Free Zone Day. Oh my goodness.
Go to a coffee shop day. That'd be a good one. National Coffee
Shop
it
got
day.
Your attention. There you go.
Was that yesterday and the day before?
Now, I actually did just think of something, as a matter of fact. Okay, here's this has merit, Doc. Think about it. Yeah. I have done in my trainings, like networking on steroids trainings, when I would do colleges and different places like that, I always had the ABCs of networking.
Okay.
I would have each student, like the students would pick a letter, and they would just shout it out. And I had it all written down just to keep the conversation different. Like basically instead of asking, does anyone have any questions? That usually is a fizzle. And so I never say that. I always say, pick a letter, ABCs of networking, go. And that just kept the room moving, so to speak. And I also did it like, if you're in a BNI networking group, every single week your ask is different. This week I'm looking for, or your infomercial would be changed up a little. So I actually had the ABCs of water. So today's the first week of the year. So that would be the A. So I would do alkaline, and then I would talk about that. And then B would be a bottle. The bottle would have your brand on it, that kind of thing. What would happen if you had either the ABCs of gardening or what to do on a different month. In this particular case, today's going to be your garlic day. And that, you see what I mean? And I think
Yep.
that would be a super fun thing to offer. And for those of you watching with us today, it would be a cool thing in your networking groups. Your ask could be different. Your branding infomercial could be different, whatever that looks like, just to change it up a little. Consistency is magnificent, I promise. But for me, consistency means attending consistently. I
Right.
wouldn't necessarily say the same thing every time, because once you can hear it and you even start to say it with me, then obviously that means, okay, you've got it. So, but that might, because the ABCs of networking and then the ABCs of branding, and then if you go somewhere consistently, you basically need 52, which means 26 letters in the alphabet. You're now going to be doing that twice, and it would be to a different audience, because usually in 26 weeks, you either get new members or some others drop off. So when you start your second half of the year, you'd be able to go through your branding bit again. So, but anyway, garlic today, I can't wait to see your videos, because I'm sure they will be rock star.
Well, yes, I hope so, because the sun is still shining, and I'm still out there digging in the dirt. But yes,
Yeah.
I remember the ABCs of networking. And didn't we do a funny twist to it? I think we rewrote it at one time, and I'm trying to remember. Of course, we don't have those with us today, or maybe
Well, actually, I do.
I was gonna say, or maybe you do. I don't. Total
yeah.
opposites. I don't have it. You do.
One of the things that we have talked about for, and many times when we networked in person, we would always talk about swoopers. And so basically it was the swooper version of like basically a what not to do. Instead of the ABCs of networking in a good way, the swooper version was, I think when you and your husband wrote it,
Yes.
it was, yeah, and I really do. And I'll be able to find it as we're going through here. But that was the deal for me, is swoopers beware. You swoop in, barf your business, as I call it, and then swoop out and expect people to go, wait, I want your whatever that is. And it usually doesn't work like that, at least not in my experience.
And then that same person generally, most of the time, will be complaining that their network isn't big, or they're not successful, or, and it's just like, well, if you sell to everybody, hi, my name is Sally, and buy my, not even, the one thing I try not to do when I'm networking, whether it's, through Zoom calls online, or even just out in the community, I never ask, what do you do? I try to keep it general and try to get to know the person.
And for me, the answer to that is always, tell me about you. And
Yes.
that has been a different conversation, because what do you do means, I garden, I network, I read, I something. It doesn't mean what do you do for a living necessarily. And so those are the kind of things when I think about that, what do you do kind of for me limits it to the business topic. And so that's when I thought, well, that's a different conversation. And in a Chamber of Commerce meeting, a lot of times the topic is, what do you do? But tell me about you. And for me, the first word out of your mouth is your identifier. So I am a what? A connector, a something. What does that mean? And I think it has a lot to do with people's, I guess you would say, attitudes.
Right.
So that would be an interesting conversation right off the bat. Are you networking in person now, Doc?
Yes, I am. I'm actually doing both, but
Okay.
I've kind of kicked it up a little bit, doing some one-on-ones, face-to-face in the good old coffee shops. And yeah, how about you?
That is awesome. Mine is all, I can't say all, but most is virtual. And I couldn't find this on my phone. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but the real ABCs of the unidentified swooper is what you and Mr. Christine came up with. And pick a letter, Doc, just so you can kind of see what a swooper looks like.
L.
L. There is lots more business where that came from.
How about C?
I see a pattern here. Call me anytime to discuss my favorite subject, business.
Q.
Quit procrastinating. I want business. Now you see
D,
once again, the theme here, D is don't you know how important business is? E, every day I need business. F, forget to talk business, never. G, give me nothing but business and more business. And so you see the theme there, and that's really where that was going from a standpoint of the swoopers come in, and that's what they're actually thinking is business, 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 and they miss the entire part of getting to know someone.
do you have the other list by chance available so you can contrast that to, and
Yeah,
maybe we could read the same?
absolutely. L was the first one that you chose. And on my real list, it's LinkedIn is a great tool to get and stay connected. How's that profile? And isn't that a funny thing? Because now I teach the LinkedIn stuff, and this is what I've been doing since 2012. The other one that you mentioned was C, confidence is key when it comes to meeting new people.
Yep. How about Q?
Q is questions. Listen twice as much as you speak.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And so it's back to that same thing. The ABCs of networking post-quarantine, and then the swooper version, it's just an incredible difference in getting to know people and really getting to know what makes them tick. And that turns out to be, what would you say, the lifelong piece of the friendship part.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because when we were out in the world networking, we did see a lot of friendships that developed from networking.
Absolutely. And I think what happens if they miss that now? And all of a sudden they figure, since it's virtual, put your information in the chat. That's what everybody always says. Well, then what happens is now you're supposed to go to the chat. Well, some people don't know how, and that's fine. It's a learning curve. Other people don't have time to go back to the chat. And once you open the chat, even if you save it, what are you going to do with it now? So the biggest part I always find is follow-up. And that's where a lot of people struggle. The follow-up piece doesn't get done. And now what do you do? What would happen if you didn't follow up with your gardening? In other words, you plant your something in April and you don't come back to it till August. How do you suppose that item did?
I think it would be gone. It would be dead. But actually, I was going to say, when you were saying follow-up, I have kind of tested on some of the virtual, reaching out to somebody, hey, let's connect. And then I just kind of go, then I back off and wait. And I'd say 50% of the people go, oh, let's do a Zoom, and the other 50%, you don't hear from them. I'd love to. And that's it. And you're like, all right.
Absolutely. And I think the responsibility virtually is just as big as it is in person. Now, the in-person advantage is you get to see them every week or month at your event, and that's terrific. The virtual is lovely, but you've got more choices virtually. And so you might not actually see them again, at least not consistently as you maybe would in a Chamber of Commerce meeting. So the networking piece for me, needless to say, is just key, and the different nuances of how you network virtually compared to in person, and whether or not you're a swooper is still a large consideration.
Right. Exactly.
But I can see you doing the ABCs of gardening from a standpoint of, gee, please, has to be for garlic.
Garlic.
It has to be for garlic, but it's so amazing that people can use that theme for any piece of their business. Yes. First you this, then you that, then you something. And especially when you're training, just with my networking trainings and things like that, the ABCs just helped from a standpoint of canceling the monotony. And usually what would happen in the ABC conversation, whatever the term is, takes you to the next step of conversation. Right. And so that has been a good tool. Now, look what you just did. Changing the background of a Zoom call, we've talked about this before, is super duper important to keep people from either falling asleep or turning their video off and deciding they're going somewhere else because they're either bored or been there, done that, heard that before. Instead of remembering, it's all about keeping people engaged and wanting them to meet with you. Right. I have a question for you, dear Dr. Laura.
Yes, Queenie.
If someone needs a referral to something, how do you determine with your vast network now, how to connect that person. In other words, if you've got 10 electricians in your life and someone needs an electrician, how do you pick who you will send the information, the contact information to?
I actually pick the person that I know the best and how they would be a good fit for the person that's looking for. So it's my knowledge on how I know the plumber. Let's use the plumber, for example. And actually, we had a little plumbing, I think we talked about this. We had a plumbing problem when we were constructing stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I talked to a friend and they gave me two or three resources, because we didn't know a plumber. And that person gave me the information on each plumber, the background, et cetera, et cetera. And so we actually wound up calling both. But the one plumber responded within 10 minutes. The other plumber didn't get back to us until 3 days later. So guess who I'm going to be referring?
Okay. Yeah, that's
So,
super fair.
so the example of how they run their business. And we know that the plumber that we used, we got to know the guy a little bit. You know, it was short term, and maybe plumber's not a good, because I don't network with him, but the person that gave me the reference did and knows the guy. Yeah, it's all about being able to match people together. And the clue to that, or the caveat to that, is you have to know the person that's offering the service first, as well as, if it's a friend or a family member looking for a service, you've got to know if it'll be a good match. And then their services, their business acumen, follow through, all the details that you eventually will learn as you build that relationship with that person. I answered that in a really long way, but
no, but look what you did though. You literally know the person who's asking, I need a plumber. Then you knew that that person would send you, let's say, names and backstory, which is oftentimes a good idea too. But that person wouldn't have known the backstory if they hadn't been connected to the plumber, either by networking or by experience. Like I've used the plumber for, and so now you have options. And that is such a big deal, because we're talking about swoopers beware. If either of those plumbers had ever been swoopers, they would not have been on your friend's referral list, I would imagine.
Right.
And so the swooping part, the follow-up, the backstory, they get to know them better. Several times when we were meeting in person, I always said, how well do you feel that you know the people at this table? And everybody's going, oh yeah, we see them every week. This is great. And I always would then say, do you know the person's spouse's name? Do you know the kids' names? Do you know the grandchildren's names? Do they have any pets? What are their names? And that's kind of a measure of, if you're networking with people every week, and then instantly people go, whoa, 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 that's personal. It's personal if you ask. It's not personal if they share.
Right.
Different conversation. You probably wouldn't walk up to someone and ask if they're married in this day and age, certainly, or maybe even, do you have kids? Those kind of things. You could say, what does a day in the life of you look like? And then that would be an opportunity for, oh my gosh, madhouse chaos. I've got 10 people in my family and it's always a cluster in the morning. All of those things are fine, but you just said, what does a day in the life of you look like? Not, are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have pets? And then of course, what's the next thing? We couldn't have kids. Oh my gosh. Then tragedy has struck. Oh my gosh. We can't have pets. I'm allergic. My dog just died yesterday. Whatever that looks like, that's when the inquisition piece turns out to be a little bit of an issue. But if you say general, just like you said earlier, Doc, as far as the listening part, it's so important to listen because they give you clues. People
Right.
give you clues. What does a day in the life of you look like? Now, if there's anyone on the planet that could keep up with you, as far as what is the day of life?
Or you, Queenie.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But think about that. It's a whole different topic. If you have people that are trying to follow you around, you start your day doing this, you pull down trees and tear up yards and all the different things you've been doing. You have been remodeling a client's, is it the front yard or their backyard where you're doing all that?
Their backyard. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're slowly, with the weather getting cooler, we're not going to be able to get as much done as we want, but yeah, we're slowly transforming it into,
Okay.
we're going to be putting in garden beds, and we're also going to be, the raised beds, the kitchen garden beds. And then we're also going to be basically doing some kind of landscaping, kind of edible landscaping kinds of things. So that's going to be a mix
Okay.
of herbs and flowers and vegetables.
Now, think about that as far as you are so good at offering the pieces to each one of your puzzles. So instead of just show us this gorgeous garden, you do the step-by-step piece. And I think that is why your exposure has been so magnificent, because you don't just say, well, go fix a garden, go build a garden, go do something. You don't do that. You literally say, okay, first you this, and then you that, and then you something else, and you've got videos to show it. I think that is your success right there. I think your success story, honestly, is because you're patient and you explain everything, each detail, because you don't just wake up one day and have a garden bed, especially that raised one you've got. Isn't that where is that one, by your patio or somewhere? You've got
it's off of our patio. Yeah. Okay. I've got to actually have, believe it or not, Queenie, I've got a picture on here somewhere.
Well, you showed us that one time, and I just thought, you don't there, yeah, that one. And you don't just say that's your little one, your planter boxes, I think. But you don't just say have a raised, yeah, that one. You don't just say have one of these. You show the steps, and you prepare the land, the landscape where it's going to be. Then you do the building and the I can't even remember now, the jigsaw and that miter saw. That's the one I was thinking of. Yes. And you showed us each step, and then you put that, what's that black stuff, the liner deal? What is that?
It's a weed blocker. We put it in the box to kind of protect the wood a little bit.
Yes, I do pay attention, and I don't know what most of it is, but as soon as you said you now have to do the weed blocker, how many people would even know to do that? Because my first thought is, how do you keep the dirt from leaking through the wood stuff?
Well, yeah, there's weed blocker, and actually in this particular box, we have it's like a screen at the bottom. So it stops most of, there's no dirt that comes through, but the water is able to soak through. Yeah. Because in the bottom, there's built-in structure where it holds up the dirt, but there's slats, so the water comes through. So, but yeah, no, it's kind of like the way you teach with networking and LinkedIn and social media, step by step. Meet people where they're at, because I work with people that are newbies with gardening, and then people that have tons of experience, and it's trading ideas, it's trading information. It's catering to what people want as far as growing things in the summertime. And like we're talking, when we network with people and get to know what they like and don't like, I use just in conversations with my clients of, I build that into how we structure their garden, how we structure the landscape. You have to know what makes that person tick and makes them happy, at least, and that's what I'm in the business of, is making people happy by teaching them either how to grow their own food or helping build it and maintaining it, whatever. I ultimate is to help them, in growing their own food and making them happy in that way. So.
Now think about the topic that you, once again, every time you speak, you bring the next section up. It's not cookie cutter.
Right.
And so you just don't go into someone's house and do the same garden bed, the same this, the same that every time. Are you still able to offer a consultation at the beginning? How do you do that now? Okay.
Yeah, we're still doing consultations for next year, actually. Okay. So yeah, no, and it's not cookie cutter. This box is custom made. This was my first raised one that I built for myself, so it's hands-on, so I know what's expected. But, people are like, oh, I could buy the box at Home Depot. Yeah, you can.
Good luck with that.
It's going to fall apart.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
This thing is hand oiled to prevent, it's waterproof to an extent. I hand oil it. I build it custom out of cedar, which is a wood that lasts for 20 to 30 years. I build it to the size you want it. And then there's a custom blend of soil that I've worked on getting just the right mix. It's all experience. It's like anything with any of us that are business owners. We are good at what we do, what we're helping people with, whatever our service is. We know our product, and that's kind of, and we're passing that information on.
You mentioned earlier about trading information back and forth. When you're with your clients, the information they're giving you is basically what they want, but they're also giving you information because I tried it this one time and it didn't work, and I tried it that one time and it died. And so now you're able to offer maybe even suggestions of how not to let it die the second time. Maybe all you need is a little tweak of the soil or the location or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, and I was going to also comment on where I got my gardening certification from. I still am part of the group, and we have Zoom calls once a week. And one week I was asked to speak at it, and the topic was, what questions do you ask your clients? And I started my explanation with, you have to get to know your client before you know the questions to ask. And they were like, oh, we never thought of that. And then they went to, but what questions do you ask? And I'm like, you're not listening. You first need to talk and get to know your clients before you can ask the right questions.
Do you have pets? That would probably be a good one for a person with gardens.
Do you like bunnies and low raised beds? Do you like squirrels? Do you have squirrels in your yard? Yeah.
Are you going to be gardening for food for your family or for pretty flowers? So yeah. I would think that there would be a lot of different. How long have you lived?
Are you a foodie?
Yeah.
Do you like herbs?
Yeah. How long have you lived in Kansas City? Where did you live before that? What was the climate like in that region? All of those things. Get to know somebody. And the swooper thing is just killing me. And I still see it virtually. And that's the part that I'm just, let's think of this. All of a sudden you meet somebody and you swoop on them. And because you've got a product or service that they actually want or need, they're going to buy from you anyway, because they want that item. But then down the road, when you're going to now be working with them because they're part of your team, your family, your list, then someday somebody's going to say, remember when we went to that meeting and I met you the first time and you swooped on me? You see what I mean? They're going to remember that. And one of the gentlemen in one of our teams wrote a book, I think, called How to Sell to Your Grandma. And so obviously kids come in and say, hey, grandma, will you buy 500 of my trash bags or cookies or whatever they're doing? I get that part. But if you're going to actually make a sale to grandma, that's going to be a different conversation than it would be if you're just swooping with the Chamber of Commerce person. Right. Yeah. Right. That's one of my favorite pictures ever. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You have quite a menagerie here.
Well, we can't forget. I mean, the Chiefs actually won. I heard. I wasn't able to watch because I was in my garden yesterday, but they won.
They did won.
Amazing.
They won. They won.
I don't know if they were going to.
Yeah, they did completely. And I do have that ready to go because I've got some people in my world that I'll be meeting with today that go, what is going on with those Chiefs? Well, today I'm going to be able to tell them nothing. This is just our normal DNA. Yeah, this is us. Yeah, so we're back to 500, which is a biggie for me. So that's interesting. And so thanks for bringing that up, because that's always super fun to be able to find the way that people get connected is another one. What's your favorite sports team? That starts a lot of different conversations.
Here we go. I forgot. I'm talking about garlic. I probably should show you what it looks like, but yeah. And this year for my garden, last year was 150 plants I pulled. And this year I'm going for gold, 240. So.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to basically build another garden yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
And actually those
don't have enough garden stock, will just build you another one real quick. It's good.
And those raised beds, I don't build them real high because it's really only garlic and onions that I put in those for now. But yeah.
Does that mean the varmints don't want them?
No, they don't really pay attention to onions and garlic, which is wonderful. I'm fine
Okay.
with that. Yeah. And I use actually in my planting in the higher raised beds, I will use garlic and onions here and there as a bug deterrent, especially onions. So your onion sets, if you don't want appropriate onions for wherever you live, in our neck of the woods in the Midwest here where we live, you have to get a specific, they call them onion sets, which is basically a year-old little onion. If you want to get big onions like what we buy at the store, you basically buy they call it an intermediate day onion. We have different lengths of days, different temperature ranges, but the onion sets don't get real big like these intermediate onions do. They get about maybe this big, but they're great for a deterrent or great to just pull and throw it into a salad, that kind of thing. And actually, I was looking at one of my gardens that like you said, you don't pay any attention, nothing happens. Well, except for the onions. I
Yeah.
have new sprouts. I've got new onions to pull. I just was like, oh, they came back because I thought I got them all and I obviously missed. So I've got another 12 or 15 plants to pull.
Oh my gosh. I just think that is fascinating times a million. This is actually your garlic harvest, like your own, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that was 2 years ago. I think that was actually, we were doing No Excuses Networking. Remember, I was passing out the bulbs. I was teaching
Oh
on
my
garlic.
gosh, I remember that. You brought each of us a treat, which I
Yes.
just, oh my goodness.
You were, that's when I discovered that you liked garlic.
You could
Yeah.
not have brought me a better gift in the world than a garlic bulb.
Yep.
Clove pod, whatever they're called. But bulb. Okay, good. Yeah. But I seriously mean it. I just, they're fabulous. And the flavor of yours, because of course I roasted it. The flavor of yours was, people don't think of garlic as sweet, and it's not sweet, I don't think, but there's something, I don't know if the word is succulent. There's just something flavorful about your garlic that I had not noticed of the stuff I get in the stores. So do you grow a different type? Okay.
Yeah, the kind you get in the stores are called soft neck garlic. They're generally a mild flavor.
Okay.
The kind I grow is called hard neck. You plant it now and it overwinters, meaning it sits in the ground. It has to get cold. It's kind of like a tulip bulb. They have to go through the winter and experience the cold. And that actually gets the plant to push up the leaves and grow the plant itself. But
Okay.
I have a hard neck, yeah, and there are several different varieties of hard neck. And actually this year I'm doing 4 or 5 different kinds. Some of the ones I pulled last year were spicy. And I'm not a spice person. And they're real pungent. I mean, it's different all across the board. The hard neck is almost like, if I can equate it to wine, and different, you hear people talking about different, they can taste the different whatever in their wine. Garlic is very similar with flavor and spice and depth of flavor. I mean, the hard necks, if you have a good chef that wants, that a different kind of flavor with the garlic, they'll go for the hard neck types. And heirlooms are another. I always look for organic heirloom hard neck garlic. So, and an heirloom is something that has been passed down from generation to generation. They've been around for at least 50 years and they've kept the variety and they pass it down. So I've got all of these little things that I do, but yeah, this is my garlic from a couple of years ago. So
okay, so we do need to go. I looked at the clock already. Oh my gosh, but I
know,
do
it's
have
crazy.
a question about that. You mentioned about the wine, and I know it's a region thing, like this grape is in this region and this grape is in this region and all that whole drill. If you take this garlic right here and plant it in Kansas City and plant it in California and plant it in Florida, does the taste or the size is the same? Like, does the region matter?
The taste might be different because of the weather.
Okay.
And it's also different because of the soil and how it's fertilized. Yeah, for a hard neck in California, it needs to get cold. So I don't think that in California, unless it's up in, maybe more of a mountainous area. But then again, I don't know if you could even grow a garlic like in Colorado or in the mountains somewhere, or in Idaho or whatever. That I'll have to see if I can see. I'm sure there are garlics to certain regions. This type probably not, because it needs that cold, and we're talking 10 degrees, 0 degree. I mean, we need some cold weather. I know you're going, no, but I mean, gardening in general.
My sweatshirt's starting as we speak. I'm getting ready to bundle up.
And you've heard me say this, Queenie, here we need in this area, because of the bugs in the summertime, we need at least 2 weeks in the winter of 0 or below in order to bring the frost line down. It needs to go 18 inches down. So it needs to be rock solid, cold, hard to kill the bugs.
All right, I will be a trooper and allow that to happen this year.
Okay. Yeah, and when we don't get the cold weather, who is scratching and itching? Yeah, it's noticeable because the bugs aren't killed. That's just how the cycle of bug life goes and how gardening goes. So
the cycle of bug life. That is funny. Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm not going to sing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So,
well, you can actually sing us goodbye, my friend, because we have reached our time limit today already.
It's always flies and it's always fun. So, and I'm going to put up here, we'll put our Bible trivia up here too. But thank you, faithful friends on purpose, or anyone who is going to see the replay today on October 18th, 2021 with Doc and Queenie Facebook Live at high noon. Join us here next Monday at the same time at, what time was that again, Queenie? Or we've got a Bible trivia every Thursday night at 7 p.m. You don't have to be a scholar. It's really cool. We just go through, we've got an app. Queenie uses an app that throws out questions. Right now we're in some light and airy subject matter in Revelation. We're almost to the end of Revelation.
That's us.
Yeah, light and airy, not serious whatsoever. But I mean, I know as the facilitators of the Bible trivia, we've actually learned a lot.
Yeah.
And we've had lots of folks join us on that. We'd love you to join us. But until then, we would wish you a very well and happy Monday and have a fantastic week. And thank you, Queenie.
Thank you, Doc. I learned so much from you every single week. I'm
Likewise.
Now craving garlic.
Garlic. Well, I will put it in the ground. You're going to have to wait 9 months. But hey, I still have some leftover from June.
I'm patient. Yeah, I'm patient.
So take care and thank you. And we'll see you next Monday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye, Queenie.
Bye, Doc.